Welcome to this session of Zen Golf Questions and Answers. Nice to see everyone. And what I'd like to do right from the start is everyone can unmute themselves and fire away.
What course is that behind you today?
That looks like Pelican Hill. It's a beautiful, two beautiful golf courses in Newport Beach, California.
Oh.
Hey, what
A
about
little like
Masters?
Sandpiper too.
It looks a little like that, but I don't believe it is. Sandpiper is in Santa Barbara, California. Goleta, actually, near Santa Barbara. And it is also right on the ocean.
All right. You're in, Marcella.
Okay. I just wanted to ask you, all of you, what about Masters? Have you enjoyed it? Watching Masters?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful flowers, just amazing.
One wonders, as they're going by, to what extent do they follow Walter Hagen's admonition to don't worry, don't hurry, and stop to smell the flowers along the way?
I fear too many don't do that. I know, I think it was Peter Jacobson used to say that he used to always, he used to always have a relaxed, a good time, good humor when he was playing, and he noticed things that were going on. But I remember one time someone asked Tiger Woods, they were playing at Pebble Beach, and someone said, what about, do you get distracted by the beautiful scenery? And he said, what scenery?
Yeah, that's right.
So I think that was kind of a shame myself, yes, but he also makes a lot more money playing golf, or did, than I ever will. So,
Well, there's another aspect to that, and I think that is there's a lot of time during the practice rounds to enjoy the scenery. And not only that, they've been there. He's been there so many times that there's a slightly different purpose in that. However, from the Zen Golf point of view, the best thing would be to get into that bubble as you're preparing for and executing and reflecting on your shot, and then do enjoy the scenery so that you don't try to hold that focus. It's just too stressful and too hard. I had the wonderful privilege of Jack Nicklaus telling me that personally. We're walking around watching his son Gary as he was years ago, 20 years ago, trying to qualify for the PGA Tour. And Jack said, look, concentrating just on golf for 4 hours isn't just boring, it's unproductive.
and isn't it true physiologically that if I'll make this analogy here, you can tell me if it's way out, but if you stare too long at one object, things begin to sort of disappear from your field of vision. So maybe the same thing could be said about concentration as well. If you concentrate too hard, you lose track of some things that perhaps you need to see in your periphery.
I think that's a really good point, and it reminds me of something that was an old-time golfer, Jackie Burke, Masters champion from the 50s, 1950s.
Mm-hmm.
And he said about concentration, if you're trying to concentrate, you're not concentrating. Concentration is your natural state of paying attention and staying focused on what you choose to pay attention to. So he's equating concentration with mindfulness. We usually think of concentration as narrowing down and bearing down and tuning in. But that's not the kind of concentration that we're looking for. We're looking for the concentration of, when you say concentrate, it's also similar to distilling, right? Like orange juice concentrate. It doesn't have anything extra in there. It's all distilled down. So that's the idea of concentrating, that we're focused on just what we're choosing to pay attention to with nothing extra. And if we do that, if that becomes our habit, and that's really what he's talking about, you need that to become your habit and your mode of performance. Because if you have to try to concentrate while you're doing that, your mind is bouncing back and forth. You know, what do I have in Zen Golf? If you're thinking about your swing, you're thinking, not swinging.
Yes.
That's right.
Well, Yogi Berra said, you can't hit and think at the same time.
Yeah.
Baseball. We could go on with Yogi Berra isms all day, probably, but that one actually made sense.
That's right.
Yeah.
He also
Oh,
said,
come on, they all made sense.
They all make sense. You're exactly right, Ken. They all make sense.
even his comment that I didn't say half the things I said.
Right.
Obviously, he meant half the things that are attributed to me, but that's not quite how he put it.
Well, and he also said about hitting, 90% of hitting is mental, and the other 50%, the other half is physical. So
We can go on for a while.
we could go on forever on this.
Right. So Marcella, you were asking about the Masters. I had the opportunity to write an article for a Japanese golf magazine about that, and particularly Matsuyama. And I thought that one of the things that he did really well was, and Ken has talked to me about this, as that all great golfers, all champions do that, and that is be able to ride the waves of nervousness.
Yeah.
As when they asked him, they said, "When did you get nervous?" He said, "Right from the, he said, it was fine walking toward the first tee, but when I got on the first tee, that's when I realized,
Yeah.
oh, this is the last round of the Masters, and I'm leading by 4 strokes." And then it kicked in, and I think it did affect him a little bit on the first hole. The second hole is a par 5, and that, whenever the pros face par 5s, unless they're trying to get some strokes back, they feel a little bit more ease. So I think it calmed him down a little bit to get to the second hole. But there were challenges all through the round, and I really liked myself. What I thought was really impressive were the chips that he hit on 13 and 15, the par 5s. 13, he had just hit 2 wayward shots.
Mm-hmm.
Hit his tee shot into the woods on 13, and it got a lucky bounce. It bounced out and onto the first cut. And then he pull hooked his approach shot back left to the green, because pulls go longer and pushes go shorter. So, and that was the safest area. So I think he was maybe protecting a little against the push that would have gone into the creek. And to do that, he pulled it. So it went behind the green, and it wasn't an easy chip down to the lower level, but he executed it so perfectly that he had a tap-in putt. And the most challenging was after 15, when he again pull hooked it over the green and into the water.
Yeah.
And he had to chip back, and Nick Faldo pointed this all out, and he actually did the right thinking of chipping it so that if it got on the green, it would get on, just barely fall onto the green. And if it didn't, it would get close to the top of the hill.
Mm-hmm.
And not be a difficult shot to get down into. So he did what, what my guidance is, and that is, okay, what's going to give you the best chance to save par at that point without taking an unnecessary risk? And landing in the ball on the green from there, absolutely an unnecessary risk. And in fact, what he needed to do was be able to save bogey and not get a bigger number, which is what he was able to do. I don't, it's an interesting question. I don't know if he would have kept that lead if Xander Schauffele hadn't hit his shot in the water on 16.
Oh.
I just don't know, because, and we'll never know. But as soon as he did, and I mean, Matsuyama bogeyed 16 also.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, he only had a 2-shot lead. So if Schauffele pars, then there's a 1-shot lead with 2 holes to play.
Mm-hmm.
That's game on.
Mm-hmm.
But instead, Schauffele not only hit it in the water, but hit a poor shot from the drop area, and then ended up making a triple bogey, and whoop, suddenly it's a 5-shot. And then it wasn't even a lead over Schauffele anymore. It was a 4-shot lead over, or 3-shot lead over, 3-shot lead over Zalatoris. And and Zalatoris' score was not going to change. So I thought the mental strength was to summon up powerful, really good drives on 17 and 18. That showed mental strength. Other thoughts, your experiences? Marcella.
What do you think would happen with Dustin Johnson? I was just thinking about him. What could happen? Just he was unlucky, or some mental thing like, okay, he won last time. Just some pressure.
Keep in mind, last time when he won, and they're talking about this, was in November, and the course played very, very differently.
Yeah, that was different.
Very, very different golf course. What I've experienced through the years on the PGA Tour is that, in the universe, so let's start big. In the universe, everything moves in waves. Like those waves you can see behind me. Everything moves in waves. So when golfers games move in waves, you find that for many golfers, the professional golfers earn almost all their money in about a 6-week period in the year. That's when everything gels, comes together, they're playing their best, and then it ebbs. That's the high tide, and then it goes to low tide. It very well may be that Dustin Johnson, he was a little bit off of his game. His putting wasn't quite as sharp. Around the Masters, if your short game isn't sharp, you're in a lot of trouble. But Matsuyama obviously the tide was cresting just at the right time. Jordan Spieth was in contention. He was just starting to get his game back together after years of being in the low tide area. So that's why he was actually in contention until the last day. He just had a bad start on the last day. So I loved, and I work with a lot of junior golfers, and I've already shared this with a couple of them, Zalatoris's approach. When they asked him, how did you play so well? Your first Masters, you're in one of the last 3 groups on Sunday. You're in contention on Sunday. How did you do it? He said, well, you know what? I'm already here. He took the I have nothing to lose approach. I already made it into contention on the Sunday round. I said, what the heck? Let me go out and see what damage I can do. I love that expression, right? Because he's not saying, let me go out and see if I can can protect my score. Let me see if I can go out and not make a fool of myself. Let me see, all the thoughts that a lot of people would have. It says, hey, I already got it to this point, to this score. It's Sunday. Let's go out and see what damage we can do, because that really talks about what your competition is, and that is the golf course. What score can I post against the golf course? Then we see how it matches up with everybody else. But he wasn't thinking about what anybody else was doing. He was only saying, let's see what damage I can do. And I was just talking to one of my students yesterday. I said, look, you have been going around afraid of what damage the golf course can do to you, to your ego, to your score, to your confidence. Flip it. Go Zalatoris. See what damage you can do. And so he actually wrote that down. I said, put it on your scorecard for your next tournament. All I'm doing is going out and seeing what damage I can do. Isn't that great?
I like that.
Yeah, I love that one.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Mike?
Good one. How would you advise us on this? You find yourself suddenly playing with a group whose pace is completely different from yours. Everyone else in the group seems to be on that other pace, completely different from your pace.
Mm-hmm.
And their pace is one that makes you very uncomfortable and completely throws your game off. How do you handle that?
Okay.
What would be your approach?
So I don't know that you suddenly discover yourself in that group, but
I did yesterday.
Now, when you say suddenly, I mean, you were paired with them?
Yes, it was a group that one of the members was an acquaintance of mine, and I played golf with him a few years ago, but I was invited to
join the rest of them.
To join the group. And
Okay.
All of a sudden.
So you realize that. When do you realize that you're at the different pace? First hole, second hole?
On the first
Right
tee
away.
before anybody ever hit the ball.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
No, there are two directions that they're all faster than you, or or some of them are faster, and it only takes one to be slower than you. And if they are faster than you, and you find yourself, you need to find ways to keep up. So if they're playing faster than you, first of all, understand that as long as you are not taking too long, particularly over the ball, if you're taking too long over the ball, that's going to be hard on them.
Yes.
They're going to have a reaction to that.
Yes.
If you are ready when it's your turn to play and you don't take too long, and you're not looking for your ball for very long, then there's not going to be a problem. And you can find those ways to just pre-accept and just say, look, I am going to walk a little faster than I usually do, but then I'll slow down to my regular pace and do my regular pace of my routine when I get to the ball, and I'm going to start it and be ready when it's my turn.
Yes.
I am going to play a used golf ball so that I don't look for it for very long. Whatever it takes, you're going to find a way to pick up your pace so you don't feel bad about them waiting for you. Now, the other aspect of that is, unless they express that to you, they're probably not all that concerned, because they're just concerned with their own game. And I play with a guy that I look up, I hit off the tee and I put my club in my bag, and he's already halfway there. I'm halfway to my ball, which is short of his, but he's already hit. And,
Oh, wow.
And away they go. And you just say, hey, I hope they're enjoying themselves. That's great. I'm not going to be a rule stickler and say, hey, you went ahead of me. Just let them go. Let them go. Let them do their own thing. Now, on the slow side, there are two aspects. One, it will speed up your game if you take responsibility. So it's important not to take responsibility. If you see the group behind you waiting and that makes you uptight, two things that you can do is wait by the green. The group's slow, so they won't be, you won't be holding them up. Your group, wait by the green. When they come up, you say, look, we're playing slowly, and we don't want to hold you up. Anytime you want, let us know if you want to go through. Or you say, look, there's no room really ahead of us, so you can go through if you want, but you're not going to go anywhere. And as long as you've preempted their complaint, you'll feel better. Then you say to your group, don't pick anybody out, but you say, when you're on the tee, say, hey, you know what? There's a hole and a half empty ahead of us. We should really pick up the pace. Let's all do our part to pick up the pace. And that way you don't have to point somebody out and say, dude, you are so slow. You're driving us all crazy. Okay. So yeah, you let's all do our part to pick up the pace, and then don't rush your part. All you can do again is be ready when it's your turn, and you can add that in. Let's all do our part to pick up the pace, and really be ready when it's our turn.
In my case, it was this. I take have a more relaxed pace. And this group was a real hard charging speed golf tournament type of thing. And I do those things that you just talked about, Dr. Joe. No one ever has to wait on me. I'm always ready to hit when it's my turn. I'm always ready to putt when it's my turn to putt. I don't look for lost balls. But what happens for me is if my pace, if I'm not on sort of my pace the whole time, I just can't seem to get my game right. No matter how hard I try, I just can't play well.
I understand.
Because I'm just completely thrown off of my rhythm. It doesn't happen very often. Most of the people I play with are pretty relaxed, but my rhythm is just completely thrown off. I feel like I can't take that relaxing breath that I need to take for the shot. These guys certainly aren't. They were playing almost polo.
Yes, I understand.
If they wouldn't have had to get out of their cart to hit the ball, they wouldn't.
I understand exactly what you mean. Okay, so what you're doing is you're changing the pace within your routine because you feel guilty about holding them up. Yes. You feel bad about holding them up. You feel you're projecting onto them impatience about you. Did any of them yell, hey, Mike, while we're young?
Yes.
They did?
Yeah. Yes, it was, hey, let's pick it up. Let's hurry. And the thing is, there was no one behind us. We got to the golf course and we talked to the clubhouse guy and he said, you guys just go whenever you want. There's nobody here. Nobody behind you. They
told you personally, let's pick it up.
Well, what they were all telling themselves, it was like every time one of them got to the tee, it was, okay, hurry up and get one out there. Come on, let's go. Let's get going. And they did it to themselves. It wasn't.
First of all, you have to laugh.
Yeah. Oh, it was. Okay. Yeah.
So start by laughing, and then if you want for fun, were you in a cart?
I was in a cart, yes.
Okay. Yeah. So pretend you're racing. Say, okay, let's go. And jump into your cart and say, all right, let's go. I'm out of the way, and just do a little satire.
Okay.
Going overboard, right? Yeah. And when you get to the spot, then that's when you shut it all out.
Okay.
That's when you shut it all out and say, okay, here we are. I don't see them. I see nothing. I hear nothing. Right? Okay. You just say, okay, I'm in my bubble.
Yeah. All right.
And take it, catch your breath. Luckily, you're not running, you're just driving, so it shouldn't be too exhausting. But if you make fun of yourself and of them, everything without directly making fun of them, if you have a sense of humor about them and about yourself, then when that happens, you go, and now what you need to do is do everything in what feels like slow motion.
Okay.
You actually have to be slower walking into the ball
Ah,
because you have gotten revved up. I
Yes.
talk about people as being like tuning forks, and you are starting to vibrate to their vibration, to their frequency. I mean, you're starting to
exactly.
vibrate to their frequency, and so you're rushing.
Go there.
Catch it, cut it with your breath. Breathe it down, feel the ground, walk slowly into your shot. See it and hit it. And then jump into your cart, drive as fast as you can. Okay?
Thank you.
Hey, everybody, this has been great. Thank you so much.
Austin, thank you.
Appreciate you taking part, and we will be on 2 weeks from now. So if you and you can always go to past programs that are on the Dr. Joe Parent YouTube channel. You'll find them in the videos and or in the playlist. So thank you very much, and have a great time next time you're on the golf course.
Thank you.